Well, what do you know it? The internet is right. Finally, the internet is right. Google Stadia is dead. It's only taken 2-3 years for the internet to be right. That Stadia is dead. Google are shutting down the servers on the 18th of January 2023. Alright, how y'all doing? I personally think it's unfortunate. I thought Stadia was a pretty solid service, albeit a tad lacking in the games department. But I figured that would be the case. Google don't have a particularly good reputation for keeping products on the market for more than 15 minutes before they kill them off. They could have some really fantastic ideas. If they don't go as they forecast, bam, nail in the coffin, they're done. It didn't help though that the internet has been screaming every chance they've had, Google Stadia is fucking dead. From day one. Even though there have been many people out there, believe it or not, that actually quite liked the service and used the service quite a bit. I'm one of them. So, just to prove a point, right here from where I'm sitting, and trust me, I didn't actually have to hunt these. Bam, there you go. Google Stadia controller. Hang on. Ooh. There you go. That was a bit dusty. It's my wife's Google Stadia controller. And we've probably got 2 or 3 more of these. I've got a lot of Google Stadia hardware. I quite liked it. It was fantastic. In the UK, it was pretty good. In the States, from what I understand, because the infrastructure is absolutely dog shit in the States, no matter how good your connection was, the distance between you and a server you were using is pretty significant. So latency was always a bit... Google Stadia is a game streaming service. You didn't run any games on your system, you ran them from the cloud. The Google servers would encode a video, squirt that through the internet to your machine, and then you'd go with the control pad, and then the control through a client would send that data back to the server, and then the server would do whatever it was you just went on the control pad and feed it back to you. And it was neat. You could play on phones, you could play on browsers, you could play on like Chromecasts, just anything that really had Chrome on it, you could play. I've played through big RPGs, action games. Me and Ram of Ran Nerds have played stuff like Golf with Friends, Orcs Must Die 3, tons of stuff. They had a subscription service where you got free games every month and discounts on other games. I bought games on Stadia and now they're all gone. Because you didn't have a physical copy of the games, you just had the access to the feed to stream them. You still have access to the feed to stream them, but the shop is shut. Completely shut. It didn't have a chance. As soon as everyone started jumping up and down saying how bad it was, even people who hadn't tried it thought it was kind of cack. And they were just parroting the exact same stuff. However, people who I know who have tried it actually thought it was pretty good. As I say, in the UK, it was pretty solid. So what does that mean for my game library and all of my purchases? Google are giving out refunds for seemingly everything other than your Stadia Pro subscription. The service is dead, but any game you purchased, they're offering refunds. Any hardware you bought, they're offering refunds. They're going to lose big time on this. So that's a shame, because it had potential, but I couldn't see developers putting in to Stadia when the entire world already thought it was dead. So, unfortunate. Unfortunate. I really did think it was solid. I mean, I played through Final Fantasy 15. It was one of the ones I played through it on stream as I was streaming it. Had some neat features to it as well. Party streaming directly to YouTube. As I say, you could just stream it directly off your telly if you had the Stadia app or whatever. It was a neat piece of kit. It was a neat technology. I've been into the streaming service thing for a long time for games, because OnLive came out way back when I started doing daily vlogs, all the way back in the 2011s or so. That was a fantastic service when the internet connection was good. However, sadly, at the time, my internet connection was shite. But it didn't stop us from playing through many, many, many games. And that was the same kind of groove. Little box that would connect up to their service, and you'd pair up your control pad and just have at it. You could subscribe and play games or buy games, and when they went under, they didn't give you your money back for your purchase and stuff. I still have an OnLive box upstairs. My sons used to love OnLive. My wife used to use it to play games on the Mac, because you could just install an app and play games that way. It was neat. Sony bought Gaikai. I can remember beta testing Gaikai back in the day. That was pretty neat. It was the first time I ever played Dead Island was on Gaikai, and that worked great too. So the streaming services have the potential, just we live in a very picky time and a very opinionated time, and yeah, so kind of sad. So GG Google, you tried again. Doesn't surprise anyone that you're packing it in, but I really think that one, I think that had potential. There was potential there. The feature set was cool. I heard recently there was a rumour that Google were going to be redoing all of the store UI. I didn't watch the video that was tied into this thing, but I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Looks like the remake of the store UI was literally that they're shutting down. Or the remade UI is them shutting down the service. Unfortunate, but they're going the right way about it. I don't really need the money back from the kit. I mean, what I mean is, I would like the money back for the kit, but I paid for it, and I actually bought some of my friends' kit for Stadia. We all played, we got our money's worth out of it. It was fun. I only actually found out today because I was going to log in and check to see what my Stadia Pro subscription games were going to be. And then I was like, oh hey, the store's closed. So, the brutal. But that wasn't what I was going to talk about today. I bust out my Oculus Quest 2 and a small GLI Net router to be able to hook up wireless VR again. I didn't plan on using a GLI Net router. I was planning on using like a Linksys Wi-Fi 6 router that I had laying about, but apparently it's not where I thought it was laying about. Or I could have used a big boy Asus router like the one I have under my desk. I have two of them, but I couldn't find it. In fact, any of the routers that I had thought to use for this wireless VR adventure, can't find them. So I went for the GLI Net. It's only a little Wi-Fi 5 gigahertz dealio. It's all right. It's only a travel router, so you can run it off of a battery, but it's a completely separate router to set up for wireless VR through virtual desktop on the Oculus Quest. It will encode video of my machine playing a game, squirt it to my headset, because the server will be on the PC, the client will be on the headset. You do the doobly-doos on your controls and the wiggly wiggles with your sticks and stuff, and then that goes, oh, hang on, I'll push that back to the server, and then the server does the doobly wires, and things happen. Weird that, isn't it? I only just thought about that. Game streaming. It works. It really does. But the GLI Net it's not ideal, and as soon as I do find one of the bigger routers, I will whap one of those out. But the idea is realistically that if you are going to do any streamy, wirelessy, gamey, VR-y stuff, have yourself a separate router. dedicated to the device or headset that it is that you plan to use, because then you get full bandwidth of the Wi-Fi, not so much your internet connection, but of the Wi-Fi antennas, especially if you're planning on streaming in-house, like you do with, say, the Oculus Quest, MetaQuest 2, right? Because it only takes someone on your network to start, say, watching something in 4K on Netflix or downloading a game on Steam. All of a sudden, a big chunk of Wi-Fi bandwidth goes off to not your headset. And then you start getting lag and stutter and all that kind of stuff. You want to have a nice, clean connection, full bandwidth, just for what you're streaming. And if it's coming off your local network as fast as possible, it's the best way. Right? If it requires your internet connection, there's a few more things you have to jump through. But in this case specifically, I have done before, I'd have a separate router just for my headset, just for wireless VR. It's one of the reasons why I love the Quest. Wireless VR. Not having to have the old cable and do the cable dance every time I spin around a bit, and you know, it makes it easy to backflip in VR. I don't backflip in VR, but I'd like to, but I don't want to kick anything or smash anything, and I'll probably end up, you know, breaking my neck. But I could just hook up my HTC Vive, because my Vive has the added bonus of it's base station tracked. You probably can't see there's base station in that corner, base station in that corner, and I can use full body tracking. But I only use full body tracking in VR chat. I have used it in Blade and Sorcery, but it was alright, but I didn't. It's mainly for VR chat. I have two sets of full body trackers, a set of Tundras and a set of Vive trackers. And if I had to be honest, I use them 1 in 10 times I go into VR chat. Maybe. Believe it or not, a lot of the time I'm now in desktop mode on the Steam Deck. Or I use the Quest itself for the standalone mode. So, but having your own separate router, for anyone that does have a Quest 2, will iron out a lot of the problems with streaming your VR to your headset, doing the old wireless VR. If you are just connecting to the same one as everyone else in your house, you're going to have a lot of problems. Loads of problems. Don't do it. It's not the technology, it's your setup, generally. So that's what I found, at least. Even if I had a Wi-Fi 6 router for the house, as soon as someone started spanking the internal network, as soon as the traffic on the internal network went up, the headset would be choked for bandwidth, and then it would flake. So yeah, you can get a Wi-Fi 6 version of the old GLI net router, but it's like 120, 130 quid or something like that. It's an upgraded version of what I have there, but I don't really want to spend that much when I already have a plethora. I already have a collection, many wireless routers dotting about the house. So, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle, which I'm not particularly good at, but yeah. So now I can do all sorts of crazy stuffs in VR if I fancy. Again, I am well psyched, because now I can dance around my living room and people can try and dodge me as I'm flailing around doing all sorts. But that has been my day. Much talking, much subscription cancelling. Hey, I don't have to cancel Stadia anymore, they're doing it for me. And yeah, good foods, subscription losses, cutting the fat, and big time discussions. With that said, I think I'm done. It's unfortunate when people just start parroting what influencers say, you can destroy a product. Try it before you shite on it. And if you're in America, shite on your ISPs and the fact that you're in such a big country. It must be a nightmare trying to get a connection from like East Coast to West Coast or whatever in the States, or Central through to East or West. How do you do it? How do you game? Rollback netcode must shit the bed all the time. Yeah, here I was like, oh mate, yeah, you've only got a couple 100 miles to go. Nice. Everything works. But yeah, alright, generally, I hope you all, and I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one.